It may be a new year, but Donald Trump is up to his same old criming, cover-up, scamming, grifting, and we've got a lot to discuss and expose on the first MeidasTouch Podcast episode of 2026. Now the Department of Justice is saying, surprise, surprise, there's actually 5.2 million missing documents from the Epstein files. We predicted that. I predicted it was actually going to be closer to 10 million records when all is said and done, and I still remain confident that that will be the number. Also, a Wall Street Journal expose really brought to light how Donald Trump was dealing with the spa at Mar-a-Lago and throughout the 1990s, sending masseuses and other spa staff to Epstein's home, 1.5 to 2 miles away in Palm Beach. We'll talk about what this article really means, because reading between the lines, I think that there's some deeper stuff that we need to talk about. And we should also remind you that not only did the MeidasTouch Network first break the story about the missing documents, but go back, 4 years ago, we've been talking about that spa and what was going down there. 5 years ago, we were talking about that spa, and the Wall Street Journal reporting is consistent with what we reported about 4 years ago. Also, a new Wall Street Journal article about Donald Trump's deteriorating health. Another topic we've been covering on an almost daily basis now for a long time here on the MeidasTouch Network. Donald Trump, though, gave an interview with the Wall Street Journal where he says he takes massive amounts of aspirin every day because he wants thin blood. He says he doesn't want that thick blood flowing to his heart. He only wants that thin blood flowing to his heart. And that's why he says his hands are discolored, in addition to the fact that he says somebody's whacking him. He says, that's a quote, whatever that means. Someone whacks me and then my hands get discolored, he says. Also, he's claiming now that he never had an MRI, but it was actually a CT scan, which in many ways may actually be worse, but I still think it was an MRI and he's just lying. Also concerning if he doesn't know the difference between an MRI and a CT scan, and this is a guy in control of the nuclear weapons. Also, we learn in this article his diet, it's reinforced that his diet, if you want to even call it that, consists of Big Macs, quarter pounders, fish fillets, sandwiches, kind of all at once. Also, he says that he doesn't fall asleep during these meetings. When we see him sleeping, it's actually him blinking, and the reporters are just taking photos, and the photographers are taking photos of him blinking, and that's what's happening. Special counsel Jack Smith's video deposition was released by the House of Representatives. They tried to do a video dump on New Year's, thinking that nobody would watch it, but I guess they didn't account for independent media. It's been watched by millions of people here on the MeidasTouch Network. I'm sure you've seen it. We've put up there the highlights and the 8-hour full-length deposition. I think it was just good to see someone just kind of law and order, going through the facts, answering questions directly like a true public servant. Again, just being honest and answering these questions. Also, I want to show the contrast between Donald Trump's ranting and raving like a lunatic in the past 48 hours, but frankly, this is all Donald Trump does, ranting and raving like a lunatic. But I want to show that in contrast to the inauguration of the new New York City Mayor, Zohran Mamdani. And it was just such a great inauguration about hope and about the power of the American people working together for collective causes and focusing on healthcare and issues that matter to the American people like affordability. We'll break that down. And also, while the Trump regime hoped you weren't paying attention, they're also seizing the public golf courses in D.C. to try to turn them into Trump golf courses. They terminated a 50-year lease there. They've vetoed a Clean Water Act for Colorado that would have brought clean water to 50,000 people in Colorado because Trump didn't like that Lauren Boebert was one of the people who signed her name to the Epstein discharge petition, and she was also behind the Clean Water Act. And also Donald Trump has been attacking the governor of Colorado and the attorney general there and others for refusing to release a convicted felon and insurrectionist. And Donald Trump says he hopes they rot in hell. That's what Donald Trump put out. And that's one of the reasons he vetoed, and he's been vetoed this important bill for Colorado, and he's been attacking Colorado over and over again. He's also attacking the Kennedy family for not attending the Kennedy Center and not showing up. And he's attacking them at the same time when Tatiana Schlossberg, JFK's granddaughter, died of an aggressive form of cancer, and our hearts go out to the Kennedy family. But Trump's been doing post after post attacking the Kennedy family. So, in other words, we have a lot to discuss here on the MeidasTouch Podcast. Brett and Jordy, good to see you. A lot there. Kind of, as I said, new year, but the potpourri of Donald Trump's corruption.
New year, same old Trump corruption, but I am excited to be spending New Year's Day with you, the Meidas Mighty. Thank you to everybody tuning in on YouTube. Thank you to everybody listening on the MeidasTouch audio feed. And I want to urge everybody watching right now, make sure that you are subscribed to the MeidasTouch Podcast on the audio feed. It's completely free. You just go to whatever audio podcast apps you like. You hit the add button, and it's as easy as that. Like I said, good to be here with everybody. Happy New Year to you all. Obviously, just Trump being just utterly disgusting once again, bringing in the new year with his signature grift and corruption and just absolute just disgustingness. I don't even know what other words to say, but I like the contrast of what we saw out of Trump with the incredibly inspiring, I found, inauguration today of Mayor Zohran Mamdani in New York City. MeidasTouch had our correspondent, Legal AF host Karen Friedman Agnifilo on site at the inauguration. She was interviewing Attorney General Letitia James there, who was very involved with the inauguration and speaking to some other folks. It's super cool to have that on the ground access for the MeidasTouch network. And we get a whole lot of really, really big things planned for this network as we head into 2026. Just a lot of expansion in the works, a lot more ways that we're going to get content that you will not see anywhere else except here on the MeidasTouch network. And we are so excited for all the announcements that we have for all you guys in the coming days and weeks and months. So buckle up. Jordy, Happy New Year. What's the latest?
Happy New Year, brothers. Happy New Year, Meidas Mighty. Thank you for taking those off. Those were great glasses, Brett. For the audio listeners, I was a little fearful. I thought Brett was going to do this bit the entire show where he's been wearing these like wild 2026 New Year.
Don't encourage me now.
I thought we just weren't going to acknowledge it the whole show. So they're cool glasses. I think you could take them off now, but great. I'm excited to get into today's show. A lot to talk about, folks. Thank you all for being here. New Year's show, special show today. Benji, they're all special. Where to? Where do you want to start?
Well, when we show you in a little bit the inauguration of Zohran Mamdani, it was important that he emphasized that whether you voted for him or not, he's the mayor for all New York City. And he's going to protect you. He's going to fight for you. He's going to mourn with you. He's going to be by your side, no matter if you voted for him, if you like him, or if you don't like him. He's the mayor of New York City. Now, wouldn't it be a great thing if you had a United States president who just said things like that and just behaved like that? And I think that so much of what's been missing as well is just this normalcy. And we've had corporate news normalizing the not normal and trying to treat that like this is something that we should all have to accept and we should all have to deal with, and in many ways, all of that nastiness and the weirdness and the anger and the hate, it's also doing a lot of the blocking and the tackling where the billionaires are getting richer and richer, just kind of watching people fight with each other as they all party on St. Bart's Island, right? They're all there right now, celebrating the fact that they've increased their wealth by trillions of dollars while Americans are having their health care quite literally ripped away from them. And, you want somebody on New Year's who's the leader of the country just to say, hey, Happy New Year, everybody. We wish you the best. We're going to do great things together. We're in this together. One great nation, indivisible, right? Just stuff like that, however you want to say it. But Donald Trump's message, no New Year's messages. He said that he wants to, he goes, hard to wish a happy new year, he says, to Tina Peters because she's locked up, he says. But he says, to the scumbag governor, this is his New Year's message, to the scumbag governor and disgusting rhino DA, Republican, then he puts it in quotes, I wish you the worst. Rot in hell. It's from the official president account, rot in hell. And then it's messages like this: the Democrats are a bunch of cheaters and thieves and never want to do what's good for America. I mean, the guy who's ripping away healthcare right now from tens of millions of Americans. Here was another message leading up to New Year's. Good news: George and Amal Clooney, two of the worst political prognosticators of all time, have officially become citizens of France, which is sadly in the midst of a major crime problem because of their absolutely horrendous handling of immigration, much like we had under Sleepy Joe Biden. I mean, it's just stupid stuff over and over again. He posted an image about windmills over and over, and there's like dozens of posts about windmills. Windmills are killing all of our beautiful bald eagles. The MeidasTouch did an expose on this where we're like, first off, it wasn't like that hard of an expose. I looked at it and I was like, okay, that's not a bald eagle. Like, it looks like a falcon. Like, I know what bald eagles look like, and I know what it looks like a falcon. Then it took us about 5 minutes of research, which I'll just call an expose, where it was actually an article from 2017. It is indeed a falcon, and those turbines are in Israel, and it is not in the United States.
You know the big giveaway there, Ben, as well, that I picked up on quite quickly? The fact that the wind turbine has Hebrew writing on it. That was a bit of a tell, as they call in the biz.
That was a bit of a tell. So that's what Donald Trump's doing. And what else was he doing? Covering up the Epstein files. I mean, again, just think about this. Trump ripping away healthcare from 20 million Americans. Now that it's January 1st, the Affordable Care Act subsidies have officially expired. People are going to be off their Affordable Care Act plans if they can't afford those subsidies, and millions of people can't afford those subsidies, or they'll go medically bankrupt right now trying to be able to afford them, and then it's going to cause bankruptcy because they're not going to be able to afford other things. So ripping away people's healthcare and covering up the Epstein files. Remember on December 23rd, as I was going through the small fraction of Epstein files that were actually produced thus far, and based on what the Democrats in the House Oversight Committee just said, the DOJ's only released 5%. Just think about that, 5% of the overall Epstein files. And one of the things that was clear to me as I was looking through it is I saw a document that talked about 1.2 million records that were being imaged by the DOJ back in 2020. And I was looking at that and I said, well, 1.2 million documents are being imaged then, and they're talking about having hundreds of thousands of records. There seems to be 1.2 million records that the SDNY had in USA v. Epstein on their software back then. But then I said that was just one hard drive. So there's probably other hard drives. That was just USA v. Epstein in the Southern District of New York. What about USA v. Ghislaine Maxwell? What about USA v. Epstein in the Southern District of Florida in 2007? What about all of the civil cases? What about all of the other co-conspirators? What about all of those proceedings as well? So I said there's got to be at least, I think the title of our video was missing 5 million records that we did 2 weeks ago. And now the DOJ says, yep, it's actually 5.2 million records that are missing. And again, I think that number is going to go up and up and up and up. And while at the same time, now they're admitting that 5.2 million more records are now missing, which they now need people to review and they need to locate and they need to find. And now maybe it'll take until the end of January, maybe February, maybe March. The law required that everything be produced by December 19th. Pam Bondi said back in February that all of the files were on her desk. Really? The millions of files were on your desk. Just shows you that they literally lie about absolutely everything. But she said that she had reviewed everything. It was all on her desk back in February. We know in March, through some great reporting by Jason Leopold at Bloomberg, who did Freedom of Information Act requests, that there were about 1,000, I think it was 973 FBI and DOJ agents working tens of thousands, if not more, overtime hours back in March, going through the files back then and redacting in March. I mean, millions of dollars, tens of millions of dollars paid for overtime of agents, FBI agents, DOJ agents, national security people who were going through it March through July. So what the hell were they doing? Really, no one thought to ask the Southern District of New York, the main office that was doing the prosecuting, hey, where are your files? Like, wouldn't that be the main place you go to where the prosecution took place? They knew about these records. By the way, they told Judge Engelmeyer, a federal judge from the Southern District of New York, and Judge Berman, another federal judge from the Southern District of New York, they told the judges that they had those records. Go back and read those court filings when they asked for the grand jury transcripts to be released, which Judge Engelmeyer, Judge Berman, and a judge in the Southern District of Florida ultimately released. Judge Engelmeyer said, what documents do you have, and what are you going to turn over by December 19th? Because you're asking I turn over the grand jury transcript. And they listed those documents. They didn't necessarily say, oh, the 5.2 million from the Southern District of New York, but they talked about the FBI witness statements and, the surveillance footage and the reports and all the stuff that would be in the Southern District of New York folder. So, and the Southern District of New York file. So it's just more criminal violations covering up a sex trafficking ring. But then there was this story from the Wall Street Journal. The incident that prompted Trump to ban Epstein from Mar-a-Lago's spa. Now, by reading that headline, you may think, oh, so is Wall Street Journal saying Trump did a good job because he ultimately kicked Epstein out of the spa? Notice the language, though, of the headline, that it prompted Trump to ban Epstein from the Mar-a-Lago spa. It doesn't say ban Epstein from Mar-a-Lago. It says the Mar-a-Lago spa. And then when you read the article, what you learn is that Epstein actually did not go to the spa. The spa went to Epstein. Throughout the 90s, Donald Trump would send spa staff and masseuses and manicurists and other spa service individuals, whatever that means, to Epstein's home, which was 1.5 miles, 2 miles away in West Palm Beach. And they would go to Epstein. They would do calls at Epstein's home, and Epstein would sexually assault them. The way they described it in the Wall Street Journal piece was that he would engage in sexually suggestive conduct and exposing himself. He sexually assaulted them. He would get naked and he would grab them and he would sexually assault them. And then he developed a reputation among Mar-a-Lago employees for doing that. And ultimately, there was an incident in 2003 where that took place. An 18-year-old girl went over to Epstein's place. Epstein sexually assaulted her. Her dad flipped out, rightfully so, against Donald Trump and was threatening Donald Trump and Mar-a-Lago to expose them and bring them down. So basically, reading between the lines of this article, what it seems, in my opinion, is Trump basically, Trump does fake deals. He did a fake ban of Epstein just from the spa, not from Mar-a-Lago, and they actually stayed friends, but he was never going to the spa in the first place, so it's a kind of a fake ban. Now, this ties into a 2007 New York Post report, also a Murdoch property. Murdoch owns New York Post. Murdoch owns the Wall Street Journal. We've talked about this New York Post report for a long time. For many years, we've talked about it because it's pretty freaking damning. Pull up the article one more time and let me read it for some of our listeners and viewers. It says, this is October 15, 2007. The headline, sex case victims lining up.
And I think that date is so important also, right, Ben? Because this is before Trump was ever anywhere near politics. This is, this has been a very specific era right here where this was written. So you can't accuse it of being like a specific agenda to try to, get at him for the presidency or whatever it may be. This is just them reporting on this sex case of victims lining up related to Mar-a-Lago.
And
right,
that
this was when the sweetheart deal was entered.
This is the sweetheart 2007.
What'd you say, Jordy?
I was saying the date for the audio listeners here on this piece is October 15th, 2007.
Yeah, this is right around when the sweetheart deal is being entered into by Epstein and Alex Acosta, the Southern District of Florida, a United States attorney who goes on to become Donald Trump's labor secretary. And he becomes a Trump cabinet member. The guy who covered up in 2007 as the main prosecutor gets one of the top jobs in Trump's first administration. Here's what the article says, October 15, 2007. Lawyers for Manhattan billionaire investor Jeffrey Epstein, who's agreed to plead guilty to soliciting underage hookers, are bracing for a slew of lawsuits from as many as 40 young women who came to his Palm Beach mansion for massage sessions, page 6 has learned. So notice what they say right there. Came to his Palm Beach mansion for massage sessions. During the probe that
also, I just want to pause, Ben, and say, they say underage hookers and then they call them 40 young women right after. And I just want to clarify, that's the language that the New York Post is using. I would call them girls. If I were, talking about children is what I would call them.
Children, yes. During the probe that led to Epstein's plea deal, which will put it behind bars for 18 months, underage girls told cops that they claimed to be 18 or over and gave the financier massages for hundreds of dollars per session. One girl, described in court documents as just 14, said Epstein used a purple vibrator on her while she partially stripped. Cops say Epstein's assistant, Sarah Kellen, helped arrange the massages. Meanwhile, the Mar-a-Lago club in Palm Beach last night confirmed a website report that Epstein has been banned there. He would use the spa to try to procure girls, but one of them, a masseuse, about 18 years old, he tried to get her to do things, a source told us. Just pause there for a second. About 18 years old. What does that mean? About? That sounds like 17 to me. I just read that again. That's a weird way to refer to someone as 18. About 18 sounds like you're talking about a 16 or 17-year-old girl. Otherwise, we would say an 18-year-old girl, right? Her father found out about it and went absolutely apeshit. Epstein's not allowed back. Epstein denies he's banned from Mar-a-Lago and says, in fact, he was recently invited to an event there. So Epstein is telling the New York Post, page 6, one of the most widely read gossip pages that Trump reads all the time. I mean, page 6, before there was a TMZ, and then before there was all the social media blogs and websites and TikToks and all of that. Page 6 was the main gossip thing that everybody read, right? And Epstein says, no, that's not true. Publicly, that's how confident he is. And there's no rebuttal from Donald Trump there. So that's where we are in the Epstein cover-up. Sorry if that was wordy and it took a long time for me to go through it, but I had to break it down so that people can make these links. Brett, Jordy.
No, I'm happy that this is getting more, mainstream attention, if you will, at this point. It's something that we've been focused on because, like we've said, it appears that one of the kind of central hubs of Epstein's sex trafficking operation was Mar-a-Lago. And I think that that's a very big deal. And the more we sort of uncover here and the more it's reported on, the more we dig back to the archives about what was going on at the time, to me, and this is my personal opinion, it almost appears that Donald Trump was not necessarily a client of Jeffrey Epstein, but in many ways was a partner of Jeffrey Epstein. They worked hand in hand here. I mean, what else could you possibly call sending 40 and this is just the ones that are known about the ones who are going to file complaints, against Mar-a-Lago and Epstein. What else can you call sending girls from the Mar-a-Lago spa, dozens and dozens and dozens, to Jeffrey Epstein's mansion a couple miles away, in order to, for him to procure sexual favors from them, for him to sexually assault them? That is like the definition of trafficking. That's what it is. And Mar-a-Lago was clearly the hub of this entire operation, at least this part of it. And I think that's a freaking big deal that the guy who runs this private club that was the center of Jeffrey Epstein's operation is now the president of the United States. And when you look at the documents and you look at the constant efforts by people like Attorney General Pam Bondi and others in the Department of Justice to delay and obstruct and prevent the release of so many of these documents, I think it starts making a lot more sense when you have this context about how central Mar-a-Lago was to this entire scheme. There's a reason that we have only seen fewer than 5 million fewer than 5% of all the documents that have to do with the Epstein case at this point. That is not by accident. As Ben said, there was a law. These documents were supposed to be released weeks ago on the date that the law required. They did not do that. And now they continue to come up with all these excuses about, we're suddenly finding documents and it's going to take us weeks and we need to make these redactions and it's going to take all this time and we don't know when we're going to get to it. BS. You should have been working on this since the beginning of the term. You should remember when they gave those binders out to those MAGA influencers and said, here are all the Epstein files. And then they re-released things that were already made public during the Biden administration, but with additional redactions. You should have had all the documents back then when you said it was on your desk, Pam Bondi. And so the scheme to me is very clear. And the more that is revealed about Donald Trump's relationship with Jeffrey Epstein and the central role that it appears that Donald Trump played in it, in my opinion, the worse and worse that this all looks. And I think it's just very revealing and really explains a lot. Like there are some things that, you go like, I just don't understand. Why are they obstructing? Like this, like that doesn't seem to make any sense. There are certain things in life that once you hear the information, things sort of snap into focus. And I think everything we've heard about Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein's relationship, it makes what's going on here very clear.
Absolutely. This is one of those things. This should not be political. Trying to holding child sex traffickers accountable should not be a political thing. It doesn't make me a lib that I want to see child sex traffickers held accountable, that I want every stone unturned. There should not be any information that is concealed, so long as it doesn't harm the victims, that the American people should not have visibility onto. Because at the end of the day, what is happening right now is truly pathetic. I mean, it is pathetic to see what the Trump regime is doing with the Epstein files, whether it's Pam Bondi trying to nail the football on this, saying that Brett, to your point, I've reviewed all the documents. Okay, well, 5.2 million now, just were you referring to those? Those were on your desk? Okay, I don't think so. The entire Trump regime, Mike Johnson tried to delay the votes on releasing the Epstein files. It's like, what are y'all doing? This isn't a political thing. Not in anybody's right mind is this a political thing, other than folks just want the damn truth. So stop gaslighting people, handing out white binders to your MAGA influencers so they could take these weirdo selfie ops. I mean, those folks, they're such putzes themselves. I mean, all of those people that were in that influencer shot holding those binders, they don't actually want accountability. That's all that's telling me. They want to just move as if. They want to move as if they know everything, and move as if, the only people that were part of the Epstein cabal was Bill Clinton and all these Democrats. Look, it's not a political thing. If there are Democrats associated with child sex traffickers, get them. Go and get them, because I don't want to protect anyone like that, okay? But what we're seeing here is a constant cover-up of the Epstein files and the documents. They are not being transparent with the American people.
Look, one of the most potent tools that prosecutors use in sex trafficking cases is charging the broader conspiracy as a RICO criminal enterprise, right? Because there are all different people at different levels involved in the sex trafficking scheme, not just the underlying people who are procuring the underage sexual service, the rape itself, but everybody who's in that funnel, the money launderers, the people who help cover it up, the assistants, right? And oftentimes all those people get charged. What is horrifying is the idea that the Department of Justice could be charged, in my opinion, with a RICO criminal case, that at all different levels, starting at the Attorney General to the Deputy Attorney General, who, by the way, conspired with the convicted sex trafficker Ghislaine Maxwell in Tallahassee and transferred her to the minimum security facility in Bryan, Texas, where she gets like VIP services in order to stop her from telling the truth about everything that she knows. And we know that she lied through her teeth during that interview that was given. But everybody who's involved at some level, if you are aiding and abetting this at the DOJ, like, you're now complicit in a RICO criminal enterprise cover-up of Epstein and Ghislaine sex trafficking. Like that, I just don't know how else to kind of describe what it is and the violations of the Epstein transparency. I think almost everybody at the DOJ can be charged. And I think people who are there, I mean, just think about the person in a criminal enterprise who kind of knows it's happening and doesn't speak up or doesn't say anything, like in a sex trafficking ring. Like they can be charged, right? They can't go, oh, I was focused on my work and I didn't know. No. So to me, even if you're a United States attorney in another district or a deputy United States attorney or an AUSA somewhere, you're part of this criminal enterprise now that is the DOJ. And I'm not trying to be hyperbolic. I just think That's what the DOJ is. It is a criminal enterprise, not an enterprise that goes after the criminal enterprises. So when we come back, I want to show you, though, what it used to be like when you had career prosecutors like Special Counsel Jack Smith actually do the work, what a prosecutor is supposed to look like, because it's very different from what you see Pam Bondi and Todd Blanche do on state regime media, Fox, versus what Jack Smith did at a deposition where, by the way, Republicans conspiring with the DOJ blocked a lot of what Jack Smith could say because they were afraid of what he could say. So they wanted to bring him in there, then block what he can say. So we'll talk about that and more when we come back. A reminder, MeidasTouch will be holding the MeidasTouch State of the Union, our annual address to the Meidas Mighty, January 5th. We will be doing it on our Patreon. That's patreon.com/MeidasTouch. Go check it out, patreon.com/MeidasTouch. Make sure you're subscribed there. We will be answering questions after our State of the Union address as well. We will be talking about what the MeidasTouch Network will be doing going into 2026 and beyond. We have a lot of big initiatives we're excited to roll out. Patreon.com/MeidasTouch, the State of the MeidasTouch address. We'll see you on January 5th there. We've got a lot more show. Let's go to our first commercial break. We'll be right back after we hear from our sponsors. So here's the deal. If you own a handgun for self-defense like I do, your storage likely fits into one of two frustrating categories. It's either locked away safe, but out of reach in an emergency, or it's unsecured, leaving it vulnerable to anyone. It's a big deal for me. I have a 15-month-old little girl who runs around the house right now. That's why I trust StopBox. You know, StopBox USA, they saw a problem and they designed a groundbreaking solution, the StopBox Pro. So with the StopBox Pro, you'll never have to choose between security and readiness again. Its ingenious push-button locking system gives you fast, reliable access when every second matters without the hassle of keys or reliance on batteries. It's 100% mechanical, so it works every time. No power needed. With StopBox USA, you can finally have both security and readiness. I need both. Got a 15-month-old little girl, and as you know, we're under attack by a lot of people who don't like what I do, although I know you like what I do. And so you have StopBox Pro's mechanical keyless system, allows for fast, secure access without the risk of fumbling for keys when every second really counts. It's also battery-free, so you never have to worry about your lock not working. With the holidays coming up, there's never been a better time for you to upgrade your home security or give the gift of peace of mind to someone you care about, whether it's for your own nightstand or a loved one who takes safety seriously. The StopBox Pro delivers the perfect balance of protection and preparedness. So the holidays just got a little safer and a lot more affordable. For a limited time only, our listeners are getting a great deal, a crazy deal. Not only do you get 10% off your entire order when you use the code TRUTH at StopBoxUSA.com, but they are also giving you a buy one, get one free for their StopBox Pro. That's 10% off and a free StopBox Pro when you use code TRUTH at StopBoxUSA.com. One more time, StopBoxUSA.com. Use that code TRUTH. And as I said before, you really need both that security and readiness, and that's why I like StopBox.
Typical children's vitamins are basically candy in disguise, filled with 2 teaspoons of sugar, unhealthy chemicals, and other gummy junk growing kids should never eat. That's why Hiya was created, the pediatrician-approved superpowered chewable vitamin. While most children's vitamins are filled with 5 grams of sugar and can contribute to a variety of health issues, Hiya is made with 0 sugar and 0 gummy junk, yet it tastes great and is perfect for picky eaters. Hiya fills the most common gaps in modern children's diets to provide the full body nourishment our kids need with a yummy taste that they love. Formulated with the help of nutritional experts, Hiya is pressed with a blend of 12 organic fruits and veggies, then supercharged with 15 essential vitamins and minerals, including vitamin D, B12, C, zinc, folate, and many others to help support immunity, energy, brain function, mood, concentration, teeth, bones, and more. It's non-GMO, vegan, dairy-free, allergy-free, gelatin-free, nut-free, and everything else you can imagine. Haya is designed for kids of all ages and sent straight to your door so parents have one less thing to worry about. My son loves Haya so much, and he also had a blast decorating the bottle with the stickers that come in the first order. I can't speak more highly of Haya. We've worked out a special deal with Haya for their best-selling children's vitamin. Receive 50% off your first order. To claim this deal, you must go to hayahealth.com/Meidas. The deal is not available on their regular website. Go to hayahealth.com/Meidas and get your kids the full body nourishment they need to grow into healthy adults.
Let's go. Shout out to our sponsors. Links in description of both the YouTube and the audio. Use the links, use the codes. If there's an exit survey, let them know we sent you. Benji, where to next?
You know, the Republicans in the House of Representatives knew they were going to have to release this Jack Smith video deposition at some point, right? At some point, it's a public record. So they had to figure out how could they try to bury it, because they really wanted. And by the way, hat tip to Jamie Raskin, hat tip to Democratic Congress member Robert Garcia and others, right, who have really been pushing for the utmost transparency and pushing to get these things released, to have aggressive, transparent, oriented Democrats as ranking members of the House Oversight and the House Judiciary. So key right now. We're seeing a big difference, right, in a short period of time about what that leadership looks like. So Republicans thought let's just dump it during New Year's and maybe people won't pay attention to it. I don't think they accounted for independent media, independent news, because we were able to get it on YouTube right away, then get the clips to Asen right away, who's our clipper, or he leads our clipping department at Meidas. And then we were able to get these clips out there and deploy them immediately, as though there was like a live hearing taking place on New Year's. Like, we were able to make it backfire in the Republicans' face, which is a testament to new media. By the way, make sure you're subscribed to the MeidasTouch YouTube channel. You may think you're subscribed, but you may not actually be subscribed. You may search us and get us on your algorithm a lot. Just make sure you're subscribed and turn your notifications on as well to the MeidasTouch YouTube channel. But I think this shows a big difference of what independent media was able to accomplish, because we're able to make the full deposition, 8 hours of it. It was an 8-hour deposition. We made the whole thing available to the public, and lots of people wanted to watch the full 8 hours. Then 2 hours after, I did a highlight. I did a best of reel of all of the kind of the top moments. So I'm not going to show you all of them again, because you may have seen them already. You may have watched the full 8 hours, but I think it's a good contrast to all of the crap I've just showed you with Pam Bondi and Trump. And just think about it. The White House right now controls the DOJ social media accounts. So it's the DOJ's communications is being run out of the White House. Donald Trump makes social media posts ordering Pam Bondi to go after his political opponents. And then she tries to get indictments by putting in people who have never been prosecutors in their life, didn't even intern for a prosecutor's office. People like Lindsay Halligan, a beauty pageant contestant who finished like 4th, turned insurance lawyer. They make her a top, because she was one of Trump's personal lawyers. They make her the top prosecutor of the Eastern District of Virginia, which is one of the main prosecutorial offices that prosecute counterterrorism and espionage and public integrity. So it's just a big middle finger in the face to our justice system. And all these federal judges across the country, other than Judge Cannon, are like livid at the DOJ. Like, there have been, I'm sure you've seen a lot of these exposés. We cover it here frequently on the takes I do with Harry Littman. So many cases are just getting dismissed because the government's not turning over the discovery the right way, and they're covering up things, and they don't have competent lawyers showing up who even know what the law is. And it's a field day for criminal defense lawyers right now, who are getting all these dismissals for their clients against a under-resourced and underqualified DOJ, incompetent and corrupt. So Jack Smith testifies before the House under oath. Let me just share with you some of the key moments. This is Jack Smith talking about how, in his opening statement, that for nearly 3 decades, he was a career prosecutor. He served under Democrats. He served under Republicans. Let's listen to what he said.
For nearly 3 decades, I've been a career prosecutor. I've served during both Republican and Democratic administrations, and I've been guided by those principles in every role I've held. I continued to honor those principles when I was appointed to serve as special counsel in November of 2022. The decision to bring charges against President Trump was mine, but the basis for those charges rests entirely with President Trump and his actions, as alleged in the indictments returned by grand juries in 2 different districts. Our investigation developed proof beyond a reasonable doubt that President Trump engaged in a criminal scheme to overturn the results of the 2020 election and to prevent the lawful transfer of power. Our investigation also developed powerful evidence that showed that President Trump willfully retained highly classified documents after he left office in January of 2021, storing them at his social club, including in a ballroom and a bathroom. He then repeatedly tried to obstruct justice to conceal his continued retention of those documents. I remain grateful for the counsel, judgment, and advice of my team as I executed my responsibilities. I am both saddened and angered that President Trump has sought revenge against career prosecutors, FBI agents, and support staff simply for doing their jobs and for having worked on those cases. These dedicated public servants are the best of us, and they have been wrongly vilified and improperly dismissed from their jobs. I made my decisions in the investigation without regard to President Trump's political association, activities, beliefs, or candidacy in the 2024 presidential election. We took our actions based on the facts and the law, the very lessons I learned early in my career as a prosecutor. We followed Justice Department policies and observed legal requirements. The timing and speed of our work reflects the strength of the evidence and our confidence that we would have secured convictions at trial.
Powerful stuff right there, Brett and Jordy. I want to show more, but I want to get your reaction to that.
Yeah, it's powerful, and I think it says a lot that, like, first off, it's just nice to have like a person who's steady, who is answering questions honestly, who's not trying to stonewall, who's not deflecting, who's not attacking the people in the room, who's not filibustering. You have somebody there who's just being professional, and that's what you want out of somebody who is a prosecutor, somebody who's in the Department of Justice. And we just see the complete opposite of that right now. And it's, he is just obviously telling the truth about everything. He clearly approached the case as an honest broker of the law. And the fact that he's even in there is a testament to how Republicans want to attack the people who are actually trying to prosecute crime rather than actually go after the criminals. And remember, this was a closed door hearing. Jack Smith and his attorneys asked for it to be open to the public. The people on the Republicans on the House Judiciary Committee, like Jim Jordan, would not allow that to happen. They did not want the American people to see this. It's one of the reasons why when they had to release the video, they released it right before the ball dropped on New Year's, because they did not want the American people to see this. But guess what? The American people are seeing this right now. They're seeing a man of integrity. They're seeing a man who actually just followed the facts of the case. And when you watch the full 8 hours, and by the way, if you want to watch the full 8 hours, please go for it. It's on our YouTube channel, and you could also watch, the highlights, and we'll show some additional clips, right here. But you see, first off, when they're behind closed doors, these Republicans behave a whole lot differently than when they're on camera. In those hearings, they're not yelling, they're not like performing. You see a very different, presentation, I will say, from the Republicans in the room. But what these Republicans kept trying to do was take it back to the idea of these tolling records, these records that Jack Smith came across when he was in his investigation, because he discovered that Donald Trump was making all of these phone calls to all these Republican lawmakers to try to get them to object to the certification of the 2020 election. And so that's a big deal, obviously. And they almost want to try to punish Jack Smith for him just doing his investigation of an attempted coup on our government because they got caught being co-conspirators in that attempted coup of the United States government. So it's just very telling the things that they go after. But does Jack Smith go there and start yelling at the Republicans when they make these accusations that he was targeting these people? Or no, he answers everything calmly. He's cool. He's collected. He tells them exactly why he received these records. He says how a lot of these Republicans were lying about that their records were taken when they weren't being taken. The Republicans who were saying that they were being spied on, that their phones were tapped, that was complete BS, not true at all. There were just records of the phone calls that had like timestamps and things like that, not the actual content of the conversations. And so he was able to rebut all of these lies in this form. And that's why he wanted it to be open to the public. But that's also why I'm happy that we were able to get that full 8+ hours out to the public so that people could actually be the judge of what was going on here. I think, and I know it sucks that we have to look back on it, but I think when we look back on this all, history will not judge this Republican Party kindly. And it's very obvious that they were such a huge part of this criminal cover-up and criminal conspiracy to try to subvert the United States of America and our democracy.
Exactly. And we'll dive into some more clips, I imagine, Benji, here as well. But I just wanted to add to this is the law and order party is anything but, right? The MAGA party, the Republican Party, who claims to be law and order, right? They claim that they love law and order. No, they don't. No, they don't. They don't. They don't love transparency. They don't love law and order. In fact, in many areas, they seem to be complicit in the crimes. Jack Smith, when you hear him speak, when you see that footage, Brett, you said it perfectly. It's a person who is doing his job. He is not guided by politics or party or political leaning. He is just strictly following where the evidence is taking him. And I think it's incredibly telling that there are tons of members in the Republican Party at this time that don't want Jack Smith to be able to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. They want to subvert what Jack Smith found. And so I am so happy that we do have this full, all of this footage is now on our YouTube channel. It's an 8-hour, it's 8 hours. Go check it out and just watch for yourself. And we're going to be playing more clips here as well. But I'm excited and happy that we have this footage and that we're able to show it to the audience tonight.
They were also trying to set Jack Smith up because before he testifies, they tell him, you can't testify about anything that's not already part of the public record. So Jack Smith's like, well, you're subpoenaing me to testify, okay? You're going to be asking me questions. And so Jack Smith says, do you want to send Jack Smith through his counsel, do you want to send a DOJ lawyer who can be here, though, and also help monitor it? Because if you think that I'm saying things that you determine are not public record, and you think that I'm asked a question and I'm doing my best to respond, you could have a DOJ lawyer say, hey, we're not comfortable with him answering that question. The DOJ just ignored him. The DOJ decided not to send any lawyer at all. They're happy to send a lawyer to Ghislaine Maxwell to get her to provide lies about everything to help cover up a child sex trafficking ring. But then they order Jack Smith that he can't testify about things that Judge Eileen Cannon has refused to make public. So I want you to see how this conspiracy is working. You have Judge Eileen Cannon is refusing to make public Volume 2 of Special Counsel Jack Smith's report. Volume 2 is all of the evidence and grand jury statements and testimony and everything that existed regarding the Mar-a-Lago case, where Donald Trump took these classified records, including potentially nuclear secrets, and he brought them to Mar-a-Lago. Eileen Cannon's refusing to make that public. She's set another extension date to like February because she was ordered by the 11th Circuit because she was just sitting on Volume 2 doing nothing for over a year. So the 11th Circuit said, you have to do something. So her doing something, she said, I'm going to set a deadline in February. So then the DOJ says, because Judge Cannon has not released volume 2, you can't testify about it. And Jack Smith's like, you subpoenaed me here. Y'all are asking me questions. So do you want to be here to like moderate that, to make sure that you're not going to then criminally charge me for answering questions pursuant to a subpoena by the House Republicans? No, good luck. We wish you the best. So when you go and you watch the 8-hour deposition, the first 7 minutes, 10 minutes, it's Jack Smith's lawyer setting out the complete timeline of what took place there and being very careful and making a very clear record of what's taking place, because this was also clearly a setup to try to prosecute Jack Smith for talking about things that Cannon's refusing to make public, which should clearly be public. In any other special counsel situation, as soon as the cases go away, the special counsel goes in an open session before the House and the Senate and testifies to the findings, right? Remember the special counsel with Biden, who went very publicly and said, oh, Biden said this, Biden. Yeah, that's what's supposed to happen. But the Republicans want to keep this secret. So I'll just show you this portion right here where Jack Smith's lawyer says this morning, just over an hour ago, we get an email from the DOJ saying you can't talk about anything that's not public as it relates to the Mar-a-Lago case. Here, play this clip.
According to the Justice Department, discussion of Volume 2 of the Special Counsel's reports and any information or conclusions in Volume 2 or in drafts thereof is specifically prohibited by Judge Cannon's January 21st, 2025 order. This morning, just over an hour ago, the Department of Justice sent us an email affirming its view that Judge Cannon's order applies to Mr. Smith and that it precludes him from disclosing any non-public information that may be contained in Volume 2, including, but not limited to, interview transcripts, search warrant materials, business records, toll records, video footage, records obtained by grand jury subpoenas, attorney-client communications, and potential Rule 404B evidence. This restriction significantly limits Mr. Smith's ability to discuss the classified documents case. Nevertheless, Mr. Smith is committed to doing his best to answering questions consistent with the department's guidance. And I ask that that email from the Department of Justice that was sent earlier this morning be made part of the record.
I mean, like, isn't that crazy? Like, isn't that an insane trap that they're trying to set for him? Like, y'all see it. The Republicans make him testify. He wants to do it publicly. They demand it happens in secret. Okay. Then they want to ask him questions, but then they tell him through the DOJ that he can't talk about Volume 2 because Judge Cannon, Trump's buddy, is not allowing discussions to happen about that. And he gets an email an hour before he's set to testify about it. And then you'll see, if you watch the full video deposition, Jack Smith's lawyer says, so we invited the DOJ to show up if they want to object or if they've got any issues. So there's no concern. They refuse to send somebody. That just tells you everything with this regime is a cover-up. They cover up a child sex trafficking ring. They cover up Donald Trump's theft of classified records. They cover up Donald Trump's health. They cover up the video footage of war crimes being committed by the United States and some of the most heinous forms of war crimes imaginable, although all war crimes are heinous. It's one cover-up after another over and over and over again. Right. And now you get leaks like when Donald Trump says, Putin called me and said that his home was under attack by Zelensky. There was a report today that says, U.S. intelligence confirms that never happened. That is all a lie. But we all knew we didn't need U.S. intelligence. We knew Putin was lying. It was obvious that Putin's lying. Trump is the purveyor of lies, disinformation. He is engaged in tons of crimes in plain view, and then they engage in these cover-ups. It's very obvious what's happening, and I wanted to break down the nuance, if you will, of what's going on there. We have a lot to discuss. I want to talk about Trump covering up his deteriorating health. I want to talk about Donald Trump vetoing a clean water bill for Colorado as part of his cover-up of the Epstein files and support of a convicted felon. I want to talk about Donald Trump trying to and seizing the public golf courses in D.C. to make them into Trump golf courses. He also announced that in a month from now, they're building the arch, the triumphal arch that they're going to be building. That's going to be a major priority of this regime. We'll talk about that and more. A reminder, the State of the Union of MeidasTouch will be taking place January 5th on patreon.com/MeidasTouch. As soon as our episode ends, the live episode, we'll go right into our State of the Union address and we'll be open to questions. So go to patreon.com/MeidasTouch. Subscribe there right now and be there at the MeidasTouch State of the Union address. We've got a lot of plans, programs, expansions that we are rolling out. A lot of stuff happening. Anyway, hit subscribe here. Let's get to 6 million subscribers. When we come back, we will have a lot more to discuss. Let's go to our sponsors.
All right, lately I've been trying to get my mornings together. Not perfectly, just better. Less chaos, less jittery energy, and more of that locked-in feeling that makes the day feel doable. That's where Mudwater comes in. Their original blend is a coffee alternative made with cacao, chai, turmeric, and functional mushrooms like lion's mane and reishi. You get a warm, focused boost without that wired buzz or midday crash that usually tags along with a regular cup of coffee. And if you're still craving that true taste of coffee, well, you're in luck, because they actually just launched a low-calf coffee made with organic Arabica, Swiss water decaf, L-theanine, and the same functional mushrooms you get in their other blends. It's rich, smooth, and only 45 milligrams of caffeine, so you get the flavor you love without the jitters, crash, or spiraling thoughts. So whether you're mixing up the original blend or easing it to something gentler than your usual brew, Mudwater makes it ridiculously easy to start the day feeling good. And now you can grab it at Target and Sprouts nationwide, making better mornings easier than ever. Every single ingredient in Mudwater's products are 100% USDA certified organic, non-GMO, gluten-free, vegan, and kosher. There's also zero sugar and no sweeteners added. Each ingredient in Mudwater serves a purpose, with organic ingredients for a clean, natural boost. Mudwater's smooth, earthy flavors provide a delicious and natural source of energy. Their OG blend contains cacao and chai for a hint of caffeine and hot chocolate-like flavor, lion's mane for focus, cordyceps to promote natural energy, and both chaga and reishi to support a healthy immune system. And by the way, there's also caffeine-free blends available. The best part about Mudwater is it provides sustained energy without the spikes and crash of traditional coffee. Ready to make the switch to cleaner energy? Head to mudwater.com and grab your starter kit today. Right now, our listeners get an exclusive deal up to 43% off your entire order, plus free shipping and a free rechargeable frother when you use code Meidas. That's right, up to 43% off with code Meidas at MUDWTR.com. After your purchase, they'll ask how you found them. Please support our show and let them know MeidasTouch sent you.
You know, every holiday season, I try to be relaxed, but then on top of all the crazy news we're dealing with, you've got the travel, the endless planning, the last minute chaos. And before I know it, I'm clenching my jaw so hard at night that I wake up feeling like I just chewed through concrete. So I finally did something about it. That's why I use Remy night guards, and I'm not alone. Approximately 30% of U.S. adults grind or clench their teeth at night. Remy's custom night guards are clinically tested to prevent teeth grinding, reduce jaw tension and facial muscle strain, and improve sleep quality. You get the same professional quality and comfort as a night guard from the dentist, but Remy costs you 80% less and is way more convenient than having to go into the dentist's office. And as an added cost benefit, you can use your HSA or FSA benefits toward your night guard at checkout. Here's how it worked for me. I received my impression kit straight to my door, followed Remy's step-by-step instructions to get the perfect impression. They crafted and shipped me my custom fit night guard, and once it arrived, I started protecting my teeth immediately. Super easy, super quick. And for the holiday season, Remy is gifting their customers with their 2-in-1 foam that both cleans your night guard and whitens your teeth for free when you order a night guard between now and December 24th. Go to shopremy.com/Meidas and use code Meidas to receive 55% off your new night guard plus a free foam gift. That's shopremi.com/Meidas, MEIDAS, for 55% off a night guard plus free gift using code Meidas. Thank you, Remy, for sponsoring this episode.
Let's go. Shout out to our sponsors. Links in description of the YouTube and the audio. Use the links, use the codes. If there's an exit survey, let them know we sent you. Benji, where to next, big bro?
Let's talk about Donald Trump's deteriorating health, his cover-up of his deteriorating health. We've been focused on this a very long time at the MeidasTouch Network. This is a Wall Street Journal article from earlier in the day. They actually interviewed Donald Trump about this. It's an exclusive. Here's the headline. As signs of aging emerge, Trump responds with defiance. In an interview, the president said he has eschewed some advice from his doctors and regrets getting advanced imaging. I think one of the tricks that Wall Street Journal's doing is, which is kind of funny now, I guess, is they're giving like headlines that seem favorable to Donald Trump, but then when you read the articles, they're actually pretty fierce against him. And I guess they figure he only reads the headlines, because they did the same thing with the Epstein article, right? Trump kicks him out of this Mar-a-Lago spa. But then when you read it, it was like, well, Donald Trump was sending all these girls, and it seemed to be underage or very young, to Epstein's house. But like the headline was kicked out of the spa in 2003. Yeah, but not Mar-a-Lago. And then also seems like Epstein and Trump were still pretty close. So this was the headline. Trump responds with defiance. So as you go through this article, here's what it talks about. Trump admits to taking more aspirin than his doctors recommend. He says it's a superstitious thing that he has. He says, they say aspirin is good for thinning out the blood, and I don't want thick blood pouring through my heart. I want nice thin blood pouring through my heart. Does that make sense? That's what he says. He goes, does that make sense? No, it doesn't make sense. Regarding his hands and why his hands are discolored, Donald Trump is asked about that. And he says he applies makeup to his hands after he gets whacked again by someone. He adds, I have makeup that's, easy to put on, takes about 10 seconds. And he puts it on after he gets whacked. I get whacked and I put it on. What does that mean? What does that mean? You get whacked in your hand and you put on makeup? And like, what the hell are you talking about? Okay, he gets whacked in his hand.
The story keeps shifting too. It was too much handshaking. Now he gets whacked. I mean, I just can't keep up.
Imagine someone said that. What does that sentence even mean? He gets whacked and he puts on makeup and it takes him 10. Don't worry. I don't think we were worried. The broader issue was not whether it took 5, 10, 15, or 20 seconds. It only takes 10 seconds. Yeah. Okay. You apply makeup, it takes you 10 seconds on your hand.
Yeah, it doesn't. The makeup job we see, it doesn't look like a lot of time was spent on that job that we see. I'm going to say our concern was not how long is the makeup taken to lather up. There was also something in the Wall Street Journal piece that said like Pam Bondi. Maybe this is part of the whacking. It sounds so weird when you say it like that. Like Pam Bondi like brushed up against Trump's hand with like her hand, and like a piece of her jewelry like brushed up against Trump's hand, and Trump's hand started like profusely bleeding, and like the people around Trump got like very nervous, and they were worried that he would freak out on Bondi because she made him just start like gushing blood out of his hands. Like this is like biblical shit.
What does he think? Like, what does he think? He thinks the concern of the public with the makeup was, hey guys, is he wearing makeup all over his hands because they look discolored and like there are IVs? Does he think people are like, yo, 30 seconds or 35 seconds? No, 10 seconds. Like how long it takes to put the makeup on. Like,
Dude,
what are you talking about?
Mad Libs. That's the
Donald Trump says that he doesn't fall asleep in the meetings where we see him falling asleep. He goes, it's just relaxing to me. Sometimes they'll just take a picture of me blinking. They'll catch me with the blink. The blink, he says that's what it is. It's the blink.
The blink.
And then,
the weave, the blink.
No, it's just the blink. And then RNC Chair Joe Gruters says that he witnesses Donald Trump eat French fries, a McDonald's quarter pounder hamburger, a Big Mac, and a fillet of fish in one sitting. Also, Donald Trump now is saying through the same doctor who said that he had an MRI, and we know that Caroline Levitt said that Trump had an MRI, and Trump says he had an MRI. Now Trump says it was a CT scan, not an MRI. He tells the Wall Street Journal that it's a CT scan. It's X-rays, not magnets. And he wants you to know all of that. Although CT scans are also used to test Alzheimer's. One of the ways CT scans can be used is by ruling out other forms of shrinkage and other issues. But regardless, he said it was an MRI. I mean, what are we even talking about here? Here's Donald Trump on November 14, 2025. Just you listen to what he says. Here, play this clip.
Because it's part of my physical. Getting an MRI is very standard. Well, you think I shouldn't have it? Other people get it.
Typically, an MRI
I had an MRI. Here's what the story is. I had an MRI. The doctor said it was the best result he has ever seen as a doctor. That's it. But I had an MRI as part of my standard yearly, or I think they do it every 2 years, but I have the physical every year, and the result was outstanding.
Was it your brain?
Did you
or
know?
your heart, or-
I have no idea what they analyzed, but whatever they analyzed it well, and they said that I had as good a result as they've ever seen.
Caroline Levitt, here's what she had to say around that time. Let's play it.
And can I
Danny.
follow up on the MRI? Because President Trump yesterday said that he would release the results of his MRI. Is that happening right now?
It is happening right now. As part of, and this is a summary from the president's physician, and we will release it right now. I think my team has it teed up for all of you. I'll read it for you, and then you'll get it physically as well. As part of President Trump's comprehensive executive physical, advanced imaging was performed because men in his age group benefit from a thorough evaluation of cardiovascular and abdominal health.
Okay. I mean, so at best, the president of the United States does not know the difference between an MRI and a CT scan, which would still be alarming that he's making up that he's had a CT scan just of the abdominal region. Who goes in and gets a preventative CT scan of the abdomen only? Like, you know what? Here we are. It's your annual physical. We're going to have to CT scan that abdomen. Why? Man, just what we do to everybody. Any other body parts? No. Just we're going to CT scan just your abdomen. That's basically it. You sure people do this, doc? Yeah. We just put people through x-rays all the time without any complaints about anything. Just, part of the executive physical. Okay. These are the most ridiculous lies imaginable. And in many ways, in my view, it just makes it worse. Because not just in terms of physical, because in many ways, having a CT scan raises even deeper questions, but it's like constantly lie after lie after lie and the stupidest lies and just treating people like they're so freaking dumb. And we're not dumb. I just want to have smart and sophisticated leadership, which brings me to Zohran Mamdani, a breath of fresh air in a toxic political climate with this MAGA mutation, whatever you want to call it. Don't you wish that the president of the United States talked like this? This is Zohran Mamdani saying that whether you voted for him or not, here is his promise. This is from the inauguration of New York City Mayor Zohran Mamdani, which we stream live on the MeidasTouch network. Here, play this clip.
We will encourage you to demand more of yourselves as well. The movement we began over a year ago did not end with our election. It will not end this afternoon. It lives on with every battle we will fight together. Every blizzard and flood we withstand together. Every moment of fiscal challenge we overcome with ambition, not austerity, together. Every way we pursue change in working people's interests rather than at their expense, together. No longer will we treat victory as an invitation to turn off the news. From today onwards, we will understand victory very simply. Something with the power to transform lives, and something that demands effort from each of us every single day. What we achieve together will reach across the 5 boroughs, and it will resonate far beyond. There are many who will be watching. They want to know if the left can govern. They want to know if the struggles that afflict them can be solved. They want to know if it is right to hope again. So standing together with the wind of purpose at our backs, we will do something that New Yorkers do better than anyone else. We will set an example for the world. If what Sinatra said is true, let us prove that anyone can make it in New York and anywhere else too. Let us prove that when a city belongs to the people, there is no need too small to be met. No person too sick to be made healthy. No one too alone to feel like New York is their home. The work continues. The work endures. The work, my friends, has only just begun. Thank you.
And here's what he had to say about childcare, about healthcare, about just affordability in general. Let's play it.
The cost of childcare will no longer discourage young adults from starting a family, because we will deliver universal childcare for the many by taxing the wealthiest few. Those in rent-stabilized homes will no longer dread the latest rent hike, because we will freeze the rent. Getting on a bus without worrying about a fare hike or whether you'll be able to get to your destination on time will no longer be deemed a small miracle, because we will make those buses fast and free.
Let me show you here. Bernie Sanders spoke, and he talked about how Zohran's opponents have called the agenda that he campaigned on radical. But he goes, in the richest country in the world, the fact that most people can't afford things and fighting for affordability, that's not radical. That's what we should all be fighting for. Here, play this clip.
Need your help to govern. Grassroots democracy and people participating in the day-to-day struggles of this city will lead to good governance. Please remain involved. You know, all of us have heard how Zohran's opponents have called the agenda that he campaigned on radical, communistic, and absolutely unachievable. Really? That's not what we believe. In the richest country in the history of the world, making sure that people can live in affordable housing is not radical. It is the right and decent thing to do. And in the midst of a massive housing crisis, it is exactly what the people of this city and this country want and need. Providing free and high-quality childcare is not radical. Countries all over the world have done it for years. It is what our kids require if they're going to be well prepared for school, and what working parents desperately need. It is.
Now, contrast that with the messaging on state regime media, Trump's propaganda platform, Fox, where you have Caroline Sunshine, who's, I guess, auditioning for the job of Caroline Leavitt, saying the following about Trump is daddy. Here, play this clip.
Oh, you and I both, Jason. I'm also born and raised in this state. Let me try to put this in terms that Gavin Newsom will understand. Donald Trump is daddy, and daddy cut you off, and daddy said you can't use his credit card anymore. Because why should California and Gavin Newsom be getting federal funds when they don't even follow federal law? Nobody is obstructing federal immigration law more than the state of California and Gavin Newsom. You don't get a penny if you're not going to enforce federal law.
By the way, California is the fourth largest GDP in the world. If it were to be a country, it literally subsidizes the existence of all of the failed red states. It gives $85 billion more than it takes, in contrast to Texas, which takes $75 billion more than it gives. And I could go on that rant for a while. But, you know, the state that's basically funding the entire country is the one that MAGA chooses to go after. And then they call Trump daddy. And here, Tommy Lahren, this is, again, the messaging from state regime media, Trump's propaganda outlet, their version of TASS that's in Russia, or their version of Sputnik media, or their version of RT. Here's what Tommy Lahren says about, look, we need to be focused on where's Joe Biden right now. Here, play this clip.
And you'll never believe where Joe Biden was spotted. Spoiler alert, he's on vacation.
Yeah, a guy who's retired and who has cancer is probably on a vacation during vacation periods of time. Brett and Jordy, I wanted to show the contrast there, though, between what governance should look like, not radical. Like, to me, Zohran talking about childcare, education, healthcare, rent stabilization, making housing affordable. Like, isn't that what governance is? What I believe is radical is to have these, individuals who are MAGA radicals. The real radicals are people. Donald Trump is daddy. He's daddy, everybody. And we're not going to give you money. We're going to invade your states because he's daddy and daddy's mad. Okay, that right there is radical and crazy and demented, and it needs to be called out for what it is. And one of the things that we do here on independent news, and that I think the Democrats are doing a better job at, and California Governor Newsom is doing an excellent job at, is just calling this out and being strong with the terms and being clear who the real radicals are, who are the real enemies against the United States, who are the real people who are causing harm, and what's their ultimate agenda, these MAGAs who hate America, who hate our country, who hate our freedoms, right? And what we saw there in Zohran's speech, the least radical, that's what America should be about, helping the American people, helping the people in this country with empathy, with compassion, with intelligence. Brett and Jordy, I'll turn it over.
Right, real quick, let me just jump ahead of you this time. Just while it's fresh in my head, when you look at the Caroline Sunshine on Fox, and you look at Tommy Lahren, why are they so weird, right? Why? Where do they find these absolute creatures on Fox News, in the Republican Party? Like, what are y'all doing? You are deeply unserious people that, during a time that needs to be met with seriousness and adults in the room, just continue to clown yourselves time and time again. Trump is daddy. Like, by the way, she's not the first person to use that lingo to describe Donald Trump. It's weird. It's creepy. It's just beneath you as an individual. It's so weird, Ben and Brett.
It's so bizarre. And when you think about what's radical, I mean, I think radical is freeing the January 6th convicts, the people who attacked the Capitol. I think radical is kicking tens of millions of people off their healthcare plans. I think radical is refusing to even put a vote on the floor to extend the Affordable Care Act subsidies, which are now causing premiums for millions of Americans to rise to a point where there are going to be millions and millions of Americans going bankrupt, or being forced to choose between going bankrupt and having healthcare and being able to afford the other basic necessities in their life. And what they do when you see a network like Fox, I think radical is also covering up a child sex trafficking ring because the leader of the country happens to be involved with the world's most notorious sex trafficker, who's everyone wants to know more about right now. And so, what Fox is good at is, they understand the potency of hate, and they have weaponized hate in order to get people to vote against their own interests. And I mean, Bernie Sanders is 100% right that when you list through those other things, all the things that Zohran Mamdani was calling for in his speech, and the things that Bernie's fighting for and AOC is fighting for, and that you see, a lot of these politicians fighting for on the Democratic side, they're things that are just standard fare in other countries. They're not controversial things. They're not viewed as, oh, that's impossible, that's so lefty, that's commie, that's communist, whatever. That's not even a consideration in so many of these other countries. It's just yes, of course we need to provide these basic necessities for people so that they could live, so that they could not that we're going to give them all this money and we're going to make them, we're do everything for them as the government, but we're going to make sure that they don't slip through the cracks. We're going to make sure that people aren't suffering due to things that the government is able to help with. And I think, that's a potent message in and of itself. And it's a message that I think if you polled people on the individual issues, and this polling has been done, Most of these issues are like 70% plus Americans agreeing with like all of these issues. So Fox has to figure out a way to villainize it. And the way they villainize it is by otherizing it, by stoking this hate, by saying the weird things like daddy, trying to make this like this weird, kind of political game, when at the end of the day, they are the ones that are just trying to kind of support the status quo that helps the billionaires in this country while they screw over the working people. And Fox represents the billionaire class. Fox represents the Epstein class. That's who they are fighting for. And they pretend, they cloak themselves in the flag, they cloak themselves in religion, and they do everything they can to try to make working people vote against their own interests. And they're really damn good at that, I might add. But, I think even as we see, I've seen some interesting things as of late with like national polling related to Zohran Mamdani. And it's actually quite striking when you look at it, when you see that Mamdani now, before people knew him, when they only heard the caricatured version of him that was out there on Fox and these other right-wing networks, people had a slightly negative view of him like a year ago, like before, everything was in full swing. Now, when you look at not just in New York City, but when you look statewide in New York, super high favorable. Zohran Mamdani now is like one of the most popular politicians, if not the most popular politician in the state. And if you look at the country, you widen it out, right? The entire country of the United States of America that we see through the media, that we see through our interactions online as being so incredibly divided. Who is right now like the single most popular national candidate? The most popular national figures are people like Zohran Mamdani. They're people like Bernie Sanders, people like AOC. So that propaganda can be vanquished with the truth. And that's why Mamdani speaking and just being himself and touting his policies and using his creativity and getting his message out there and resonating with the people and building these movements, that's the biggest threat to Fox and the Epstein class and the billionaire class. And I think in 2026, as we kind of begin this year, we need to continue to fight against the potency of hate. And so with this network, I want to combat that, and I want to be uplifting people, and I want to make sure that our work is always focused on people who need uplifting and people who need help in this country. And so whether that's the Epstein survivors, when it comes to our Epstein coverage, I want to make sure that we're focusing our coverage on the survivors. That to me is the most important thing. When we're speaking about the economy, I don't want to, highlight things that are great for billionaires. I want to talk about what are the things that are affecting the working people and how could we get this country to move in a direction that actually helps the working people and doesn't screw them over and leave them without health coverage and leave them broke and penniless because they had to go to the hospital. And so I think that's kind of the thread that connects this network right now. And as we dive in headfirst into 2026, I think that could be all of our mission. I'm looking forward to it, and I think we could use this network for a lot of good. And I consider everyone watching, of course, part of this network, this community, and we're all in this together.
Absolutely. Reminder, the MeidasTouch State of the Union address, January 5th on Patreon, patreon.com/MeidasTouch. After we conclude our State of the Union address, we will be opening the forum for questions. If you want to ask us about really anything, join us, ask us questions. We're looking forward to seeing you all there. Become a member of our YouTube channel and help this YouTube channel continue to grow. Double check that you're subscribed to this YouTube channel. You may think you're subscribed, but you may not actually be subscribed. So just hit subscribe and turn your notifications on YouTube. Subscribe to audio as well. I know we have a lot of people who just listen to audio, so maybe you subscribe to YouTube if you can. But our YouTube listeners and YouTube viewers, rather, go and listen to the MeidasTouch on audio as well. And even if you don't listen to us on audio, subscribe on audio, because you never know when you may be taking a long drive or a long walk or whatever. You go, hey, I want to listen, just want to listen to it. I want to hear it. And it helps us in the algorithm on the audio as well. And, we try to lift up the platforms on all of the channels. So subscribe on audio wherever you get audio podcasts. Just search MeidasTouch and make sure you spell it correctly. MeidasTouch. Thanks, everybody, for watching. Happy New Year. We're looking forward to a new year filled with fighting for democracy, but also joy, humor, and empathy as well. and this community staying strong together, because together we're stronger, and we will get back our democracy. We will save our democracy. We will get through these difficult times together. Thanks, everybody, for watching. Jordy, take it away.
Shout out to the Midas Mighty.
Standing strong against the fascists, we sing our song. We will get it right whenever.
Want to stay plugged in? Become a subscriber to our Substack at MeidasPlus.com. You'll get daily recaps from Ron Filipkowski, ad-free episodes of our podcast, and more exclusive content only available at MeidasPlus.com.